Viktor Frankl, in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, tells the story there that when he was in the concentration camps, one time the doctor in the concentration camp came into the barrack there and said, we need some volunteers to help work in the ward that was dealing with the patients who had typhus. And Viktor Frankl said he immediately raised his hand and volunteered. Even though there was tremendous risk to, God forbid, die from catching typhus, he said, I chose to go there, knowing that I would be risking my life and perhaps dying, because I said I'd rather die helping other people in a medical ward than die doing some manual labor outside in the concentration camp. Which further just points out the whole idea of Viktor Frankl, that even in death, surely in life, the highest aim of man is not pleasure and not honor, but the highest aim of man is to have meaning and purpose in life, and that's what distinguishes us from all the other creatures on this earth. Yesterday I was listening to a lecture from Rabbi Abraham Twersky. If you don't know who Rabbi Abraham Twersky is, he's world-renowned. He's written maybe, 100 books. Maybe I'm exaggerating, if not 150. He's written many, many books. He's lectured all over the world. He's treated thousands of patients. He's a rabbi, he's a psychiatrist, and he's an elderly man now. He's living in Israel, and he gave a lecture that was on the internet, and he said something which was astonishing. It was unbelievable, an amazing revelation. But first, in this week's parsha, the opening verse says, when you go out to war against your enemy, and God will deliver your enemy into your hand, and you will capture captives. So the question is, the verse says, when you will go out to war, alovecha, which literally means upon your enemy. It doesn't say when you go to war with your enemy. It says when you go to war upon your enemy. Should have said when you go to war with your enemy. So the Alter Rebbe, Rav Scheiner Zalman, explains that there's a deeper Hasidic interpretation to this. It's talking about war, but it's also talking about the inner war that every person has to wage with their evil inclination. We all have our own inner struggles, and we have to realize that we're going to war and we are upon our enemy, which means we are stronger than our evil inclination. Whatever struggles we have the power to overcome it. Why? Because the godly soul is stronger and greater than the animal soul. So you have to know when you go to war, I am stronger, and therefore, God will deliver the enemy, the evil inclination, into your hand. You will be victorious if you go with that mindset. Why did God give me these struggles in the first place? So you should capture captives. You should grow and gain from the transformation of the darkness within your life into light. Rabbi Abraham Twersky said that till the age of 60, he was a walking, ticking time bomb. He said he suffered from very low self-esteem and self-worth. And he said for 60 years of his life, he was trying to figure out why. He said, I had a good, happy childhood. I didn't have any trauma. I grew up in a loving home. Why did I feel? He said, whenever I did it, he said, when I was a kid, my baseball bat was always worse than the next kid's. When I was in medical school, my stethoscope wasn't as good as I always saw myself in an inferior position. And he said, I struggled. He said, even when I was a rabbi, he said, very honestly, he said, I would give sermons, and I would wait for people to compliment me. Because if people didn't compliment me, I had no self-worth. I needed validation from people. He said, I even did crazy things. He said, I once walked 4 hours to visit a congregant in the hospital in the rain. He says, Beshuga, I could have waited 4 hours. Shabbos would have been over. I could have driven. He says, you think I went there to do the mitzvah of visiting the sick? I went there so people should say, oh, he's such a good rabbi. He walked 4 hours in the rain. And he said, I couldn't understand, why am I suffering from low self-esteem? Here he's helping everyone, and he has his own struggles. And he said, a beautiful verse from King David. He says, we say it in the Hallel. King David says, Dacho dichsani limpo. You pushed me hard again and again so I should fall. But God, Hashem Azrani, God saved me. He says the evil inclination, the greater you are, the more capable you are, he has to work harder to push you down. So he presses all your buttons, he finds your vulnerabilities, he finds your weaknesses, he finds your insecurities, and he plays on them. Because he knows if he could get you to feel like you have no self-esteem, like you're worthless, and feel depressed, then you'll be clay in his hands. He can mold you any way he wants. He could get you to do anything. So he says the only way to rise above that is to realize God pulls me out of that. He says if you're only measuring yourself in materialistic measurements, you'll always feel insecure to someone, somehow, somewhere. But if you realize I'm not just an animal, I'm not a Homo sapiens who's just a sophisticated animal, a gorilla with intelligence, he says, but I am a godly soul. I am I am a godly soul, and therefore I am stronger than my opponent. I could overpower them. Then God will pull me out and draw me up, because I realize that my superiority doesn't come from my animal greatness, no matter how smart, intelligent, successful I am, acclaimed I am, but rather it comes from my godly dimension, that I'm a human being in the image of God. I'm a child of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, Leah. And he said, till the age of 60, now he's in his 90s, but he said, till the age of 60, I live with this inferiority complex. And so when we go into the month of Elul, we all have our inner demons, we all have our inner struggles. But we have to realize that God is with us in this battle, and He only gives us these struggles to overcome them and to gain and grow from them. And sometimes the greater you are, the more struggles God throws in your path, because there has to be a battle that's proportionate to your own greatness and your own abilities. There's a story told about this king, and then the Gentiles wanted to get him angry at the Jews, and he had a beloved dog. And this dog went with him wherever he went, 24/7. And they went to the king, and they said, the Jews, they have a secret way of teaching dogs how to talk. But the only thing is, they're not going to share it with you because you're not Jewish. It's only for Jews. So he called the rabbis of the community. The king said, I have this beloved dog. I heard you could teach him how to talk. They said, we could do a lot of things, but teach a dog how to talk, nobody could do that. They said, I know you can do it. You just don't want to do it because I'm not Jewish. I'm giving you 30 days to teach my dog how to talk. And if not, you're all evicted from my country. The people were panicking. They tried to speak rationally to him and reason with him. He wouldn't hear of it. 30 days. If you can't teach my dog how to talk, you're all expelled from my country. Anyways, it was 20 days, 25 days. The Jews started packing up to leave town because there's no way they could do this. Comes a simple Jew, Yankel the tailor. He says, let me go talk to the king. I could handle it. The wise people say, we couldn't convince him, talk him out of this craziness. How are you going to do it? He says, don't worry. He goes to the king. He says, Your Honor. He says, listen, you're right. We know how to teach dogs how to speak. That's the truth. We admit. But it doesn't happen in a month. Even a child, it takes a few years. A dog, it takes 7 years to teach a dog how to. Give me a dog for 7 years, and I will teach him how to talk. King says, okay, you promised 7 years? He said, yeah. They're waiting. Yankel comes out of the palace with the dog of the king. He said, Yankel, what happened, Meshuggah? I said, I told him it takes 7 years. We're going to teach him how to talk. He said, Meshuggah, what's going to happen in 7 years? Yankel says, look, in 7 years, either the king could die, or I can die, or the dog will die. So we'll wait. Comes 7 years, nothing doing. It's time to come back to the king. And then people say, what are you going to do now? He's going to punish us all. We lied to him. Yankel says, don't worry. He goes back to the palace. He says to the king, listen, Your Honor, I got your dog to talk. I taught him to talk. But the minute he started talking, you should hear the secrets. He started telling me about you, about what goes on in the palace behind closed doors. King says, what? He's telling all the secrets? Yeah, shoot the dog, the king says. And they had the dog shot immediately, right? Everyone lives with their secrets. Everyone lives with their inner demons, their inner struggles, their inner hardships. But this week's parsha says, go to war against your enemy with the confidence of knowing that these enemies within you are only there for you to be victorious over them and to extract whatever good light you could extract from the darkness of the struggles that we all have to contend with in life.